I'm Camillo Barone at the CBS Broadcast Center here in New York City. We continue to follow the breaking news out of Vatican City. Pope Francis has died this morning at the age of 88, just one day after a joyous Easter holiday. The 88-year-old Pope led the Roman Catholic Church for 12 years, and this was his last public appearance yesterday, waving there on the balcony, visiting crowds in St. Peter's Square. The pontiff was still recovering from double pneumonia, which had forced him to spend more than a month in the hospital earlier this year. We will have a number of our correspondents and experts join us in the next few moments to discuss what this means to the world's more than 1 billion Catholics. Right now, you're looking at Camillo Barone. He's a staff reporter with the National Catholic Reporter, which is an independent Catholic news outlet. Camillo, thanks for connecting with us once again as we absorb all of this. You know, many Catholics around the world had been praying for Pope Francis for months. We had watched so closely his deteriorating health. From what you can tell, we are seeing some reaction from world leaders, but what is the reaction from the faithful this morning?
Well, thank you so much for having me again. First of all, many of the faithful of the world, I would say the faithful that are the closest with him, who are the Southern Americans, are waking up right now. They might be reading the news right now from their phones, from the televisions. When it comes to European faithful, it's just shock. It's just pure shock. Many of European pilgrims who were, and also American, South and North American pilgrims who were traveling to Rome during the Easter holidays, were just shocked this morning. Pope Francis was right yesterday on the balcony in St. Peter's Square, and again meeting Vice President J.D. Vance, and again inside St. Peter's Basilica one more time. So they were probably looking forward to seeing him today or during the celebrations of the post-Easter week. Just shock. I was talking on the phone with some Italian faithful who were for the Easter holidays in Rome. They went this morning at 9 a.m. In St. Peter's Square just to pray. And St. Peter's Square happens to be quite full right now.
And you mentioned his visit with Vice President J.D. Vance on Sunday. The Vice President issued a statement a short time ago saying he had just learned of the passing of Pope Francis and that his heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. The Vice President saying that he was happy to see him yesterday, although he was, in his words, obviously very ill. The Vice President went on to say he'll always remember him for the below homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful. May God rest his soul. That being a direct quote there from J.D. Vance in just the past few hours. Camillo, we are, of course, as we absorb the shock of the news, wondering about the legacy of Pope Francis, who did lead the church, as effectively all the previous popes did, through challenging times, and his reckoning with the years of child sexual abuse is among some of the most contentious issues, as well as the debate over LGBTQ inclusion. And some of the changes he brought to the church weren't universally welcomed by Catholics around the world. Considering that, how will Pope Francis be remembered?
Well, according under a point of view of the two issues that you just remembered, Pope Francis has been the very first pope in history, in modern history of the Catholic Church, that decided to summon a synod in February 2019. The synod is a doctrinal gathering of all the bishops of the world, of some of the bishops of the world that are summoned in Rome every once in a while, every 2 or 3 years, to discuss a single topic, a single issue. There's been many synods in history, but Pope Francis has been the very first pope in history that called a synod on sexual abuses, on the scandals of sexual abuses all over the world in the Catholic Church in February 2019. He knew that this is the plague, that this is the real cancer that the Catholic Church has been facing over the past 30 years. And he also met privately, both privately and also in public sessions, multiple times with victims. There were so many times that we lost count of that, especially for when it comes to the private meetings with victims of sexual abuses. He's been also the first pope to publicly apologize in a church for what had happened over the past 40 years all over the world in terms of sexual abuses. When it comes to LGBTQ issues, he hasn't summoned a synod about that, but we knew that he wanted to talk about it during the past two synods October 2023 and October 2024. There's been a lot of conversations around these issues in the Catholic Church. Many LGBTQ Catholic groups that are starting to be a lot all over the American Archdiocese and Western European Archdiocese, and sometimes even in Northern Africa and Far East Asia. They were all welcomed at the synod. They took part in some of the conversations, but Pope Francis wanted to readjourn them in June 2025. He's not going to do that. His successor is probably going to do that. He will have to read lots of papers on those conversations that started in October 2023 and October 2024. So we'll see his legacy on this issue, how is going to be collected again.
And Camillo, something you said to me last hour, which really stood out, was that despite some of the efforts the Pope made to, as some people might describe it, modernize the church, we shouldn't assume that the next Pope would be more progressive or perhaps would further the efforts that Pope Francis made. Help us understand why that is.
So the 135 cardinal electors, so all the cardinals that are below 80 years old, most of them don't know each other. Pope Francis has been the first Pope wanting to appoint cardinals coming from the most remote areas of the world, where the Catholic communities are extremely small and a minority, like a 1%, 2% minority, talking about Pope Francis wanting to appoint a cardinal in Tonga Islands, Samoa Islands in the heart of the Pacific, in Ethiopia, in Morocco, where the Catholic community is less than 1%, and in very tiny decentralized areas of the world. These cardinals have no idea who their colleagues, in this case we can call them colleagues, who they are. They will need to have very serious conversations about how they want the future of the church to be shaped. They will have almost 10 days to pray about it. After the funerals of Pope Francis, the Camerlengo, who's considered to be the vice pope, we can call him the vice pope in this case, is going to summon for the general congregations, which are 3 to 5 days of general prayer before the conclave, and then they're gonna set up a date. So the main point is that these men need to know who they are. They need to know what their pasts are, and what are their hopes and dreams for the church of the future. A clue in this case could be that Pope Francis has appointed a little bit more than 2/3 of the cardinals that are going to be in this conclave. So we might expect that the next pope could have the same vision that he had, but at the same time, only because a cardinal has been appointed by Pope Francis, that doesn't mean that he's going to be a progressive pope. Pope Francis himself has been appointed by John Paul II, who's been a hero for many conservatives all around the world.
That's right. No guarantee that the next Pope will continue the trend started by or left by this Pope, Pope Francis. Camillo Barone, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight once again.